welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Elsie Godwin, and today we are having a conversation. This conversation is absolutely important because we're discussing family planning and contraceptives, and I think we have a very peculiar environment in Nigeria when it comes to family planning and contraceptives, and of course how we embrace the idea of birth control. And that is why we're having this conversation. Of course, I'm not an expert in anything health, right? And because of that, I have two amazing guests who will be joining me to have this conversation as regard to spousal support and what is obtainable and attainable in Nigeria when it comes to contraception, family planning, life planning, and your rights. And joining me is Dr. Sylvia Kama-Kieghe, who is a general practitioner with a special interest in women's health, a health educator, and an undergraduate and postgraduate tutor and examiner with the University of Sheffield Medical School, United Kingdom. She's also the founder of askawayhealth.org, an online health information platform. Also joining this conversation is Dr. Adindu Nwala, the practice area lead, reproductive health and family planning and project lead, DISC Nigeria at Society for Family Health. They will be joining me right after this break. Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Sylvia and Dr. Nwala, for joining this conversation. I personally think that this conversation is very important to have. We need to raise more awareness and also teach people how to do it right, not just because you want to do it, but you have to really do it right. So to get into it, I don't think we need to start explaining what contraception is, or maybe Dr. Nwala can just help us explain it in the best, simplest way possible, very quickly, so we can get right into the conversation.
All right, thank you, Elsie. The word contraception is coined, of course, from a Greek word. Contra means working against, and seption means conception. So it's like working against conception. So anything, any method, any process that is deliberate to work against pregnancy or to prevent pregnancy is contraception. But simply put, there are methods, modern methods, traditional methods of contraception, which are deliberate things you do or you apply, or deliberate actions you take to ensure that after an unprotected intercourse, a woman does not get pregnant.
So coming back to you, Dr. Sylvia, talking about Nigeria and contraception, what are the range of contraceptives we have?
Sure. So Dr. Nwala has given us a very good description of what contraception is, and there are so many different types of contraceptive methods available. And in Nigeria, we do have most types of contraceptive methods in the country. So contraceptive methods can range from the short-acting methods, that is the ones that you have to remember to use. And examples are things like the male condom, the female condom or diaphragm, the pills that people take by mouth or women take by mouth, the emergency pill, for example, or the regular one. And then the sort of older methods, but they're still in use. They're still being used as we speak. So I'm talking about the withdrawal method, for example, where sex is interrupted for the male partner to withdraw his penis and try to prevent ejaculation in the woman. Then there is the lactational amenorrhea method. There is the rhythm or calendar method. Traditional methods that are not as effective as the more modern ones, but they are still used and practiced in Nigeria. Now, out of these short-acting ones, I would say that the more reliable, if you like, is using the regular or oral contraceptive method, or the pill, that is taking it every day. It still relies on the consistency of the person using it, but it is more reliable, for example, than using the withdrawal method. Then on the other hand, or if you like, of the spectrum, you have what we refer to as long-acting reversible methods. And these are contraceptive methods or devices that don't really depend on the user remembering to take it, or depend on the user for being effective. And examples of those are things like the injection. Most of them are hormone based, actually. So the depot injection that contains the hormone progesterone. Then you have the implant, contraceptive implant that's fitted under the skin of the arm. You have the coil, different types of coils that can be fitted into the womb of the uterus of the woman. And then you have male and female sterilization. So these methods are available. The availability, you can argue, are quite patchy, or is quite patchy. And so you'd have more common methods being used in the country. For example, the male condom, emergency pills or regular pills, the depot shot or injection, contraceptive coil. But I would say that you do have most of the methods available, just that some are more popular or prevalent than others.
Okay, that's a whole lot of options for people to choose from, right?
Yes,
But let's
absolutely.
talk about spousal support and what is happening when you go to the grassroots Nigeria, right? How would you rate the support men give to their spouses so far in your work, in terms of, I mean, Dr. Nwala, you go around, you engage with the community, and you have first-hand experience of what is happening. I mean, we can sit in our studio and offices and assume that this is what should be happening, but you understand what it is. So how would you rate that support from the man to the woman when it comes to family planning and the choices we have?
Oh, thank you, Elsie. As far back as 2009, I gave an interview on the National Population Radio in the USA, and it was about spousal support. Since 2009, if I'm to say in 2009, on a scale of 1 to 10, spousal support was 3 or 4. Since 2009 till date, it has not gone beyond 1 bar, or maybe 2. I mean, this is anecdotal, of course, but from what we see and our experience in the field. So spousal support for contraception in Nigeria is a problem. And the issue is that Nigeria is a very patriarchal society, generally, and most women will never take any decision except they get permission from the man in the house, so to say. So it could be the head of the household, it could be just the boyfriend, but spousal support for contraception is very important because of our society, and it is really, really low out there.
Dr. Sylvia, would you say there is a power dynamic beyond, yes, being the patriarchal society that we are in? Would you say there's a power dynamics around the uptake of contraception? And I think I also read somewhere about a law that is supposed to be looked into in terms of a woman not being able to take some decisions except her husband assents to them. So looking at all that, how would you rate the power dynamics effect on the uptake of contraception?
Yeah, Elsie, I agree there is a power dynamic. Dr. Nwala has set the stage and mentioned about the patriarchy in Nigerian society. But I would argue that when you want to talk about power dynamic, and that just to be clear on what we're talking about, that's where you have a relationship or you have a couple, whether they're partners or boyfriend, girlfriend, or they're married, where one person appears to have higher decision-making authority than the other person. So just so that we're clear. And this can develop, and this can develop in the context of so many different things. Simply the fact that one person, usually the man, is older than the woman, for example, already establishes a power dynamic. You get my meaning? But there are other things like economic or financial authority. There are things like religious attitude or just the culture. We've talked about patriarchy as well, but there are other cultural issues that come together within people's specific circumstances to create or to buttress that dynamic. I mean, I could give you a couple of examples, but just generally, that's the kind of range, or that's the kind of the kind of plateau that you find power dynamics existing. They're developed by certain circumstances or factors.
Do you have practical example you can share with us, Dr. Nwala, of this kind of situations you've encountered?
Okay, so over my practice, it's been so bad that we try to encourage women who come for family planning. And what we do most times is if you come with your husband, we'll allow you to skip the queue, okay? To encourage women. So you see this happening in many teaching hospitals across the country. So for a practical example I can give is that a lot of women want to contracept. They get the knowledge, they get the information, and then they will tell you, doctor, this is wonderful. I will be able to take up a method, but I will have to get home to discuss with my husband. And you don't see them back. Sometimes you see them back at antenatal, they're already pregnant. So that's practical. This is happening across most family planning units in the country, from my experience here.
When I'm looking at delivering innovation in self-care projects, which is a project you actually lead, how can the message of self-care begin to help women have autonomy and their power to take up contraceptives? Do you think it's not going to put them in harm's way, especially if the man is not properly orientated? How do you see this playing out?
So again, in Nigeria, we in recent times realized that to achieve universal health coverage, which is our vision in this country, you cannot do it. The vehicle is going to be self-care. And the DISC project is going out there trying to put out information, both to providers, to clients, to males and to females, what self-care is all about. Specifically, letting them know that self-care does not mean running away from the providers or from the hospitals. Long ago, we had this a book that was called Where There Is No Doctor. I don't know if you can remember that book. Yeah. So that's as far back as then, that's when self-care actually was conceptualized. So what we are doing in the DISC project is delivering innovations which will help with self-care. So we put out information to the woman to be able to have control, have the power over her own body. And that's what self-care is all about. Being able to be empowered enough to have the power to take decisions concerning your own health issues, especially reproductive health issues. So for instance, we go out there and let women know that there are self-care products, which include some contraceptives. Okay. Now, these products are available. We let you know that, of course, you need to get to the facility and get yourself started on these products, like the procedure is, and then you can comfortably, in the privacy of your home, inject yourself or give yourself or use this to take care of your health. And then, if also in part of our innovations, we're also putting out information to men. Okay, because it's most important for a man to understand the importance and the need for contraception. Otherwise, there are a lot of myths and misconceptions surrounding contraception, which makes men take decisions they take. A man will tell you that, look, I wouldn't allow my wife to get a contraceptive method because it will make her to become promiscuous. As strange and abstract as that may sound, some people are actually hooked on that. A man can tell you, well, I've heard that I want to have 6 children, I only have 3, and I've heard that if my wife go to contracept, we may not have other children. These are lack of information. These are things information can improve, and we try to put out a lot of these informations from the DISC project that I lead.
Okay, I'm going to Dr. Sylvia now, but of course, this question I'm going to ask Dr. Nwala has to answer it as well, because you are a doctor, yes, but you're a man as well. So I personally believe that education, educating these men, whether it's by seminars, webinars, conferences, getting into their homes one-on-one, having conversations with them will help. But Dr. Sylvia, what more can we do? How can we ensure that these conversations are sinking in fast, right? And they're seeing it from a positive angle, whether it's from their economic strength as well, or how it's going to positively affect the health of their wife. I mean, if you love your wife, then it should be one of your priorities to ensure that she's strong, healthy, and space out her childbearing, right? So what more can be done, really?
Yeah, that's a great question, and you've touched some of the points. The fact is, we can't stop educating, informing. That has to continue. But I think education is different, and we've seen this, that education is different from acceptance, because I will argue that a lot of men do know about contraception. I would argue that they know more than just condoms, male condoms, for example. They do know. And as Dr. Nwala just referred to concerns about certain information they've heard, issues about promiscuity and infertility as a result of the contraceptives. They've picked this information from here and there. And so what we have to do is look at how to tackle acceptance. What is preventing men from acceptance? One of them is misconceptions. The other one is also the issue of communication. And when I say communication, I think I am referring to communication between the spouse. Some families, some relations, they don't talk about contraception. There is no communication. It's not something that is considered important. And so
they don't even talk about sex.
Well,
so going to talk about contraception is
fantastic, exactly. So if they don't talk about sex, how on earth are they going to talk about contraception and even look at the possible benefits? And the other thing as well, when Viagra, I'm just going to relate it, so I'm not trying to derail us from the conversation. But when Viagra came out, the immediate benefit and relevance to the man himself was apparent, because if you're trying to sort out a problem with erection, take the blue pill and you're sorted. Contraception is a little bit more, a little bit indirect for the man to see what the benefits are to him. But we need to sit him down to say to him, this is what you get out of it. I would also argue that apart from putting together programs, or apart from putting together different traditional media, online and social media programs, we also need to look at how to make it easier. And Dr. Nwala said something, that when the man comes with his wife to the clinic, they try and see them quickly. Because genuinely, some guys may want to go off to work. They are the primary breadwinners and they don't want to sort of sit waiting for hours to see the person. So what other ways can we assist them? The use of perhaps mobile clinics or online clinics where they can actually go and get information at their own time or at their own convenience, makes it easier for them to accept. So it's not something that is so far off. But I also think it's important to get men engaged in antenatal, get them involved in the whole process of pregnancy. We healthcare workers also have some responsibility, and I must say that a lot of us can be quite traditional. And when you have the couple in the room and we're talking about the baby and all that, we're sort of looking towards the lady as if it's only her. But actually, it should be a joint discussion. You should get his input as well. And when the guy tries to deflect, if you ask, oh, what kind of contraception have you used? Or what do you think about this or the other? And the guy is sort of keeping quiet and waiting for the lady to respond. We should actually get them to talk and not just make it look as if it's a woman-only thing. So education is fine. It's great. We have to continue. But we have to unpick those things that are causing definite obstructions to acceptance and uptake. And there are things like culture, beliefs that people have. Religious leaders, for example, can help to some extent by explaining how this doesn't go against religion. And it's something that we have to continue. It's not a measure that you start one day and then give up the next day. So looking at how to meet the man at where he needs the information, where he needs the clarification, where he needs the persuasion. And that's so much more than just say, oh, well, these are these methods of contraception. It's also a lot more harder work. But I do believe that that's what we need to target, to be able to get our men on board and talking about contraception as something that they own. It's an investment into their family, the health of their kids, the health of their wife, and so on. And in fact, reducing any possible burden on them financially, because looking after 8 kids, for example, the cost that you would put up to that is much more than you would spend looking after 4 children if you were spacing your family. And men do feel that burden. Men could become ill because of that burden. So the benefits are for them as well. It's just that, like I brought the example of Viagra, it's not so straightforward, so easy to see. And we need to be able to provide an opportunity for them to recognize it.
So Dr. Sylvia has said a lot, but like I said, Dr. Nwala, you are a man regardless of your position in this conversation. So what more can you add to the beautiful points that she has raised?
I want to say that it's interesting to know that even professional men find it difficult. I'll tell you one thing. It's difficult to say this on video, but my uncle was an ambassador and he was in the Higgs. And I told him, Uncle, my wife has given birth. He said, oh, okay, beautiful. When I come back, I'll come and visit the child. And when he came back, that he came to visit the child, I was like, is it the first or the second? And that's me, a specialist, I would say, in this field, having 2 children in less than 3 years. Even men who are professionals do not understand. There are a lot of things we assume, okay? And education is key. Look, it's important to know that most men, most Nigerian men, will do the best they can for their wives. But when you hear discussions about spousal delays, about men not allowing their women to contracept, it looks as if the man is not being reasonable. But what is happening is that they are expressing some kind of care, but with no information, with less information. Like Dr. Sylvia just mentioned, okay, it's important to relate the benefits of contraception to the man, not just to the woman. Okay, so what's the benefit to the man? And if I know that there is a benefit for me, if I know there is economic benefit, if I know there is health benefit, if I know there are emotional benefits of contraception that relates directly to me, of course, I will want to opt for that. So it's and again, Dr. Sylvia, this might sound interesting to you. In some circles, we believe that the women are cheating us, and that's why you have many widows, more widows than widowers. Okay, so what do I mean? Is the woman that will go to visit somebody in the hospital and she'll get information. Is the woman that will go for antenatal, she'll get information. Is the woman that will follow the church group to go and visit sick people, and they will get information. They go for postnatal. When does the man come to the hospital? So we need to find a venue to actually interact, to engage the men and interact with them. Sometimes the information we get about contraception is what we heard from the woman who heard probably not even from a specialist. And we don't always get the first-hand information as men. So that's my position in talking as a man.
I love those points. I would.
That's an interesting position.
Yeah. Yeah. The last point
Okay,
in particular is quite interesting. I agree that men are sort of, if you like, a little bit shortchanged in that sense. And that's why we have to think of how can we reach out to the guys. For example, on one of the platforms I work on, a lot of guys come on talking about things like ejaculation problems, sexually transmitted infections. Those are key areas that guys, you can catch guys. And we might need to think about opportunistic measures. What I mean by that is when you have the man, somehow introduce it. Now, it may not always be appropriate Don't get me wrong, but sometimes if you get hold of somebody, that might be the chance to sort of talk about, if they're married, if he's married, he's got kids, there may be an opportunity there to just talk about contraception, just to put that seed in his head and remove the fear, remove the embarrassment, remove the stigma, for example, that prevents men from feeling free to chat about it. And that's just an example. And I take on board what Dr. Nwala says. I completely agree with him.
Okay. While you were speaking earlier on, Dr. Sylvia, you said something that I want you to quickly touch on before we round up. You mentioned that when Dr. Nwala said when the woman comes with her husband, they try to attend to them early so that they can leave. And you mentioned the key factor, which is the fact that most of the time the man is the breadwinner of the family, right? The primary breadwinner. We are beginning to have amazing young women doing amazing things in their own rights, right? And the conversation is shifting. A lot of things are happening, but of course, we cannot turn a blind eye and act like we do not know that majority are still in the patriarchal system. So would you say that if we have more girls that are educated, more women that are independent, more women that are earning, it would help in this decision making? Or what do you think about that?
So we go back to the question of power dynamics, and it would help, but it's not the only solution, because power dynamics is a mixture of different things. So for example, take a young couple who just had a baby and they've come to the doctor for a postnatal check and maybe baby immunization and things like that. So the doctor is having a little chat with both of them, and the doctor says, have you guys thought about contraception? It's healthy to space your family. There are different methods. He gives them a leaflet and says, go away and think about it. So they get home, and the woman is really enthusiastic. This sounds like a good idea. I can take some time off to get my business running. I can work flexibly, look after baby while I'm on contraception. So we give ourselves a couple of years before the next baby comes along. And then the man says, no, I don't believe in contraception because of our religion. And a child is a blessing from God. How can we deny ourselves the blessing? And they both have potential to earn. So money is not the issue here, but it's about a religious belief in this instance. And then this might just be one instance, but there might be a mixture of different things going on. Now the woman is at a crossroads because she believes that my husband is the head of the family, and this is based on both the culture and her religion, and she doesn't want to go against him. She doesn't want to go behind his back to take contraception because that might cause problems. So that's created a power dynamic, even in a scenario where the woman is educated and accepts contraception and she's earning. It creates an issue. And the way you untangle that is by sitting with the man and exploring his specific reason, his belief, the religious understanding he has about contraceptive methods, and looking at how to explain to him or to look at a method that will be acceptable to him. It may not be done at one sitting, but at least it's the start. So just going to your question, I would say that it's not just about earning power. It's important. Women need to have their own agency. They need to be able to feel empowered to make their own decisions. But even when that is present, there could still be other factors that might affect the decision making.
Okay, so this question is interesting, but it's pretty straightforward. So in deciding your contraception method, who say should have the final say? Like, who should make decision? Is it the man or the woman? I'll go with Dr. Nwala first.
It's both the male and the female, the man and the woman. And the reason is very simple. There are methods that involves both partners. Okay, let's take male condom, for instance. You can't use a male condom without the participation of your husband. Okay, so if your husband says, well, for whatever reason, I don't like condom, and you've decided that what you want to use is condom, how will that work out? Okay, just a very rudimentary example. So the decision lies between both the man and the woman. So both must make an informed choice. Otherwise, somewhere along the line, something might go wrong.
Okay, so Dr. Sylvia, what do you think?
I completely agree. Conception is a two-man job or two person job. So contraception is also a two-person job, and you shouldn't shift away from this. When you're talking about the specific situation that is a couple or it's marriage or there is a partnership, they need to engage in the discussion. They need to engage in what works best for us at this time. Now that discussion is which opens up the issues where the woman might say, well, I don't really like this method, I don't like taking tablets, I don't like having injection, I don't like having call, I don't have. Or then the man might say, okay, fine, if you don't like this, then why don't we go for that? But that discussion needs to be held. And the thing is, when the decision is arrived at, then everybody, both of them, own that decision. So if, for example, the lady develops side effects to a particular method, for example, then she has the support from her partner. I mean, apart from that, if she's going to get financial support from him, it doesn't feel like it's a burden to him. It doesn't feel like he doesn't understand what she's going to do in that clinic. They just go there and they spend hours, and then she's always taking money. he owns the decision. So the discussion should look at what's their preference. Are they looking at short-term contraception because they want to have a baby in a year and they just want something to keep them going until then? Or is it, okay, we've got 3 or 4 kids now, let's do something for about 3 years before the next kid. It's having that discussion. It looks at individual preference on both parties. They might even decide that, okay, she used the pill before, but she got pregnant. She used the coil, she got pregnant. She used something. Then they might say, actually, maybe we should go for male sterilization. And I'm just giving examples of how a discussion and an agreement. So we should never, particularly healthcare workers, should never place the responsibility on the woman. And if possible, get them into discussion. Even if the man cannot come, let it be clear that you would have loved him to be present, just so that he has that sense of participation and involvement in the decision.
Yeah, and just to add, can you imagine a man going for male sterilization, which is a permanent method, and without discussing that with the wife?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just not on. Just not on at all.
Okay. All right. That's quite interesting. I think that wraps it all up. But Dr. Nwala brought something into my mind when he talked about the single mothers, right? And he reminded me that we're at that point where, when talking about family planning, which is why it's been rebranded to life planning, it's not just about the couples anymore. It's now life planning, where it involves everybody, even teenagers. As long as you're sexually active and you have decided that that's what you want to do, then you have to begin to have that conversation. So how would you say this project, that's the innovative project, is helping these young ones embrace, should I call it healthy sexual life right now, right? So what would you say is doing in that regard, very quickly before we go?
Yeah, so the DISC project has looked at a lot of other projects that has been implemented in country, and a lot of the issues that came up, with other implementing projects and partners, and we realized that there are something that is missing out. We are not reaching the right target through the right channel. Dr. Sylvia mentioned channel and agency, very important. So today, probably, enhanced by the COVID situation, we now know that to reach the young woman of reproductive age, you have to be innovative. Okay, so we are using these innovations. We have the digital companion with a geolocator. We have handles, Twitter handles, Facebook handles, and we try to get to the target audience where we know that we'll find them, and we give them agents, we give them empowerment, we give them information. So whether a single mother or an individual or a couple, we try to put out the right information. And you see people, and to tell you what's going on today, you see people coming to a provider already armed. Okay, the provider says one, he said, no, I don't think it's that way. So people are getting information. So the important thing the DITS project is doing is to make sure that they're getting the right information. Today we have the depot injection that is self-injected. So I mentioned that before. Yeah, I mentioned that before. It's called the DMPA subcutaneous injection. There are other methods of contraception that will support self-care, like the oral contraceptive pill, like the condoms we've been talking about. This can be done by the woman or by the whoever wants to use it in the comfort of their homes. So it's important to make sure, because they know it's out there. So it's important to make sure that they get the right information and don't do the wrong things. Yeah, so that's
very important.
Thank you guys for watching. I really do hope you learned something, and I hope you share this video to someone who would need it, because it's very important that we begin to raise more awareness. And while you want to opt for one of these methods, it's important that you have the complete information you need. You don't just go into them because you think it's important to, of course, use contraception for life planning and family planning. Yes, it is, but you have to do it right and do it right. So to get more information about contraception and options available for you in Nigeria, DISC, Delivering Innovation in Self-Care, has a digital companion where you can get more information about the family planning methods that has been discussed today, specifically self-inject contraceptives. It's a WhatsApp chatbot, really cool stuff. Save this number. The number is 070-680-12106, 070-680-12106, 070-680-12106, and just say hi, and you get an active response. And of course, just follow the prompt. Get information on where to get your contraceptive, request for a call, watch training videos on contraceptive method, understand them, and then begin to make proper and informed decision. Thank you for watching. Like I said, please do not forget to share this video. It is important that more people are aware and more people are educated when it comes to contraception, right? Don't forget to comment, hit the like button, share the video again, and till I come your way again, my name is Elsie Godwin. Do take care. Bye.